This is the advanced approach. If you're not interested in the advanced approach, you can certainly jump off the webinar now, but I didn't want to make people sit through this bit of the weeds. Certainly all welcome to stay, but if you don't want to, I understand. So here's the advanced approach. So let me just have a sip here. So I took these sentences from the Google descriptions from earlier. And so they feel they've learned enough to help achieve their goal. How could we possibly know that? And again, the answer is the search intent from the keyword. So if you are an attorney and someone has an article about, what happens if, well, here, we'll use our wisdom teeth that, or dental crowns. What is the cost of dental crowns? And so is this page, and again, we're looking at what are important pages to me. The cost of crowns might be a very important page because I want to do more crowns. So when I do type in Google now, cost of dental crowns, what pages come up? And, are they pages about what the wholesale cost of dental crowns are? Are they what the cost of the environment of, of broken dental crowns? Or are they literally, how much money do I have to spend to get a dental crown? And so knowing the search intent from the keyword will allow you to increase the chance that people have learned enough about a topic to help achieve their goal. And that's key. So if someone types Google Analytics for migration, I don't know if necessarily, and I haven't looked at this, if they're necessarily looking for a service to help them migrate, or if they are looking for information about when to migrate, why to migrate, do they have to migrate? So I wouldn't know that, so I'd have to look that up. And so again, if that's a key page for me, then I want to know what that search intent is. Now, satisfying experience. The only way to judge, in my opinion, the satisfying experience is time on the page and bounce rate. So if obviously you have your page about now wisdom teeth extractions, I know I have the right search intent because we're talking about, wisdom tooth extraction, and we matched up our search intent and we talk all about the whole process from start to finish and post-op and all that stuff, and that you'll be comfortable and yada, yada, yada. So now that I know I have search intent matched, you can go to Google Analytics and say, okay, how much time are they spending on my page? They're spending 5 seconds on my page, not a satisfying experience. They're spending 6 minutes on the page, that's satisfying. And then same thing with bounce rate here. So if the bounce rate, so the bounce rate is the measure of someone came to my website and left. And the way I see it is, so if someone lands on your wisdom tooth page and the bounce rate is 99%, that means 9 of the 100 people that saw this page, 99 people saw it and left, didn't do anything else. So before COVID, when I would lecture, I would use soup as an example. So if someone comes into you own a restaurant now, if 100 people come into your restaurant and 100 people taste the soup and 100 people leave, they don't like the soup. That's 100% bounce rate. There's something wrong with your soup. But if out of the 100 people who taste your soup, 90 people stay or 10 people leave, that's a 10% bounce rate, which means 90% of the people who taste your soup like it and move on. So there's something good about my soup. But if I'm getting people in the door and they're tasting my soup and 100% of them are leaving, then something's wrong with my soup. And what people will do that's a mistake is they're going to say, well, let me do some paid advertisement to get there. And the truth is, if you're coming into my restaurant for free and I'm offering you my soup and 100 people leave, paying you to taste soup that nobody likes doesn't make any sense. So before we would do that, we want to check the bounce rate. So for a satisfying experience, if the time on the page is high and the bounce rate is low, that's key. Something to know, just so you know, the bounce rates on blog posts can be high. So don't panic if you see a bounce rate on a blog post, because if you have a blog post about that says, what are the options for, can I be knocked out when I have my wisdom teeth taken out? And that post might say, well, here are the options. Number 1, we get you numb as usual. Number 2, we use nitrous. Number 3, IV sedation. And you say, oh, great. I spent 8 minutes on the page reading that. I have what I have to know and I leave. Because that was not someone who was ready to have their wisdom teeth out. That might be someone who went to the dentist today and the dentist said, hey, you have to have your wisdom teeth out. So, think about that. In the next year, you're going to have them out. So I'm not ready to do that yet, but I might want to know about it. So I spend time on the page, but the bounce rate is high. That doesn't necessarily mean that that page is bad, because if they spend a lot of time on the page and it's a blog post that that answer someone's question. What are the types of, knocking me out you can do for wisdom tooth extraction? That's okay. And then care and aesthetics. Obviously, make sure the page looks good and the things we discussed before. That is also, again, related to time on page and bounce rate. If your page is hideous, your bounce rate is going to be very high. And the time on the page is going to be low because people aren't reading your content. So here's the nitty gritty. So what you want to do, use Google Analytics and establish an analytics baseline. So look at what your average monthly organic traffic is from your state or wherever you do your business, so you can tell if your website has been affected. Google said they were putting this update in at the end of August. So look and see what your traffic looks like and see if it takes, if it drops down precipitously or not. You can certainly take a look. Now, look at your most important content, your veneers page or implants page, whatever is the most important page, and that's internal. You say to yourself, what are my services I want to promote more? Now, audit your existing content. Let's take a look at those veneer pages, that implant page, whatever it is, and say, is it a spammy page? Does it say, Dr. Wank likes to do veneers in New York City. He's a dentist in New York City, and New York City people like veneers that are made by dentists in New York City. Is it spammy? Is it filler? Is it overly salesy? Does it focus on the service or condition in question? And that you have to look at your website to see that. And look at your own content and audit it. Now, audit your existing content. Who's the audience? Where are they in their buying cycle? Does the content in question match the user's intent? So let's talk about then, same thing with wisdom teeth. So if the question is, how can I be knocked out during my wisdom tooth extraction? And you're talking about, well, it costs $500 a tooth and we have a special, and that your wisdom teeth are, sometimes they come in at bad angles. Sure. But the intent of this user is, what are the ways that I could not feel these wisdom teeth? They want to know, regular anesthesia, local anesthesia, a shot, nitrous oxide, or IV sedation. That's what they want, or go to the operating room. That's what they want to know. So who's the audience? Is that audience for someone who searched for, ways to get knocked out during an extraction? Are those people who are looking to buy? Are they people who are just exploring? So that someone who says, what are dental veneers? They're probably looking at, well, I'm in the discovery phase. I'm learning about what veneers are. They're not ready to say, well, here you go. Here's $100 off your veneers. So you don't want to necessarily give offers to people who aren't ready for the offers. So if they're saying now, what are the costs of veneers? Well, yeah, that's someone who's looking for to purchase veneers or invest in that, the treatment. Or if they're saying veneer dentist near me or real estate lawyer near me, that means they're looking for somebody to actually, that's intent to buy. So you want to give them that content. So does the content match the intent? And it seems subtle, but it actually isn't. Sometimes, again, like we said before, GA4 migration. I can't tell you that. I can't tell, because that could be anything. You've got to look and see what Google says about that. But, Google migration service cost, I know what that intent is. And someone writes GA3 versus GA4, they don't know enough about it to make a decision. So for that user, I'm not going to try and sell them our service. They're not ready for it. Look at the bounce rate and time on page. These important pages, like we talked about. High time on page and low bounce rate suggest helpful quality content. Here's about blog posts. Add internal links from other pages to the most important pages above. So you want to direct people to these important pages. So like we said over here, we might find that this page here really ranks well as your dental implant guide. And then what you might want to say is, if you have a veneers page, the service page itself, maybe now that you're here, or let's say your dental implant page, you can use some of the link juice you get to this page to push it to your actual service offer page. So adding internal links. Now, make sure your content looks good on mobile. That's huge. I don't like mobile. I don't like shopping on mobile. I really don't, but it's just a fact of life. So make sure your content looks good on mobile. Use your smartphone, visit your website, can you read it? And then make sure your website, loads quickly, does it feel fast? That has to do with hosting, but you can certainly get into the weeds with page speed tests. If you email me, I will, or post on Facebook, whatever, I will show you how to actually look at that technically. But if you want, does it feel fast to you? Because it's really subjective. But if it feels fast, you're probably okay. If it doesn't, it's something to look into. And then new content, advanced, think about what content's beneficial. This is the same as before. Hub and spoke, make sure they all link back to each other. Now, to find what new content you should do, use the Google Ads keyword tool to brainstorm keywords. I have a playlist here about keyword research using that, so you can look at that. Then find the keywords with the most volume that relate most closely to services that you're offering. So again, if those services are, dental implants, what keywords have the most volume and what relates closely to my service. If, and then that's how you're going to decide what keywords you want to optimize for. And you write content based on these keywords. So here's a list of resources. I will make these slides available. Not going to read this. It's a list. You could see it. And that is our webinar. So now before I let you go, right back here, I listed, this is from Google's core updates. Just here's some opportunities. You can look at that on your own if you have time, just to see what other things specifically that Google said they want about core content. So are there any questions?